Hey Daniel, how are you doing today?
Oh, okay. I'm just trying to not to stress too much about my major. I'm a sophomore. I'm almost done with all the gen eds that I can come up with, but I'm not sure what to do. So I could really use some help with that.
Yeah, and I gave you that self-directed search survey.
Uh-huh.
Did you fill that out?
Yeah, I did.
Yeah, and what did you think about that?
It was interesting.
Yeah.
Kind of clustered into just a few categories, and it seemed pretty black and white, either yes or no. I think that there's not always a yes or no. Maybe it's like, well, I would kind of like that, but not really like, but not really dislike either, you know?
Yeah, so you're kind of in between on some of them. So let's take a look at it and see what you got.
Okay.
Okay, so on here, this is basically the summary page, and it basically tells us what your average score is for each of these categories, and we have R, I, A, S, E, and C. And basically, this is what we call a Collins code, and we find your top 3 scores, and we kind of see how your interests would relate to a career choice for you.
Okay.
So basically, we'll go through this a little bit. R would be realistic, which just kind of means you're a doer. You like to get things done. I would be investigative. That just kind of means you're really good at thinking things through, like the mathematics, science. A is artistic, and that just means you really enjoy creating and being artistic with things,
Okay.
Acting, anything within the arts category. And S would be social. That means you really like to help people. And then E is enterprising, and it means kind of like you're a persuader. You really like to take that on that leadership role. And then C is conventional, and that means you're an organizer. You like to get those some of those tasks done where you can organize and then get squared away.
Got it.
So you have the highest was an R, which is realistic. So it means you're kind of a doer. I, investigative, was your second, and then S was your third, and that would be social. What do you think about that? Does that kind of relate to your personality?
I don't know about the social part. The rest of it, the realistic and the other one seem pretty good. But the social one, I'm not too sure about that. It looks like the artistic one was pretty close too.
Yeah, and these can just kind of depends on when you take it. Sometimes your answers change. I know when I have taken mine before, my answers have changed. So it just depends on the time you take it. When you, as time goes on, things change. So yeah, artistic is very close second. So that could be something to consider as well, and something for you to look into is something within the arts.
Okay.
As well. So what are some of your interests that might be relating to this? Did you get a chance to look through the handbook I gave you with the occupational codes?
Yeah. I like music a lot and do stuff with that, and I like photography. But lately I've been doing a lot of woodworking and doing stuff with my hands, and so that's a lot of fun. I don't know that it's something I really would want to do, but it's a nice hobby to have.
Okay. All right. And have you ever had any thoughts about any careers that have interested you?
In the past I've thought about being a teacher, but I don't know, what that didn't really fit any of this stuff. It wasn't really an option based on my interest or my scores, but it's something that kind of intrigues me. I like being around kids and stuff like that. So.
Yeah. So usually, what you would consider a teacher would be within the social of the Hollins Code. So, and you did score very high on your Hollins Code. Have you worked with kids before? And what atmosphere have you worked with kids?
Like out at a summer camp and stuff, counseling, and then doing music and things like that out there.
Yeah, so you were able to interact with kids as well as get that to the artistic side as well. That's great. So basically, we'll go over. We call this the Hollins hexagon, and I'll go ahead and draw this up for you. And it kind of shows those three top results that you got, your summary code that you scored. Basically shows us where you are on the Hollins hexagon, and the closer you are, it's kind of not necessarily the better it is, but the more your interests relate to each other. So when we take a look at this, you scored R, which would be up in this corner, and then I was your second, and then S was your third. And those are fairly close. R and I are right next to each other on the hexagon, and then A is in between. But you also scored it pretty high. You only scored it. There was only a 2-point difference between S and A. So you could also look into careers that would have that A since they were fairly close together. So you said you're interested in teaching, so that would be a big social aspect. Teachers are big leaders within students, so that would also connect into your realistic as well.
Okay.
Have you thought of any other career interests that you have, or?
Maybe something like in the medical field. I don't know.
Okay.
Things like that. I haven't thought about it too much, I guess. I'm trying to figure out what would be a good fit.
Yeah. Okay. Well, yeah. So the investigative, which is your second highest, that would be where some of the medical fields would fall under. That's also something for you to look into. Is look within your Hollins Code and kind of look at the artistic side as well, and kind of see what careers they have listed. And that doesn't anything that prohibits you have to stay in, but I just kind of consider those things that would relate with each other. Which could you work in with realistic, investigative, and social? And basically this tells us the Hollins theory is that what your personal interests are connect to your career. So that's where you would thrive most in a career setting, is where you are interested in.
Okay.
Okay. So how about for this week, let's take a look at your Hollins Code and kind of look through that occupational code. And then I also want to connect you with ONET, and let's look into some of the professions and find out some more information on teaching and maybe some of the medical fields, and I'll give you some of that information on our way out, and we'll get you set up on all of that.
Great.
Sound good?
Thanks.
All right.